The year is 1962, and Puerto Rican actress Rita Moreno creates history by becoming the first Hispanic woman to win an Oscar.
The nominees for Best Performance by an Actress in a Supporting Role are Faye Bader in The Children's Hour, Judy Garland in Judgment at Nuremberg, Lottie Lenya in The Roman Spring of Mrs. Stone, Una Merkel in Summer and Smoke, and Rita Moreno in West Side Story. May I have the envelope, please? Rita Moreno in West Side Story.
Born in Puerto Rico in 1931, Rita caught the acting bug at a very young age, growing up in Long Island, New York. At 13, she made her first appearance on Broadway. Later in her career, she had a supporting role in the critically acclaimed film The King and I. Rita kept her foot on the pedal, and a few years later she earned a role as Anita in the film remake of West Side Story. West Side Story was a box office hit, winning 10 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. A happy but bemused Moreno kept her acceptance speech short and sweet by saying, "I can't believe it. Good Lord, I leave you with that." Almost 40 years later, a crowd of excited Iraqi citizens gathered at Puerto Square, Baghdad to witness US soldiers pull down a bronze statue of Saddam Hussein, symbolizing the end of his regime. The Iraq War was still far from over, as it wasn't until December 2003 that Saddam Hussein was captured and subsequently executed in December 2006. On April 9, 1959, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, introduces America's first astronauts to the press: Scott Carpenter, L. Gordon Cooper Jr., John H. Glenn Jr., Virgil Gus Grimson, Walter Schurrer Jr., Alan Shepard Jr., and Donald Slayton. The 7 men, all military test pilots, were carefully selected from a group of 32 candidates to take part in Project Mercury, America's first manned space program. On October 4, 1957, NASA began the astronaut selection program, screening the records of 508 military test pilots and choosing 110 candidates. The number was arbitrarily divided into 3 groups, and the first 3 groups reported to Washington. Because of the high rate of volunteering, the 3rd group was eliminated. Of the 62 pilots who volunteered, 6 were found to have grown too tall since their last medical examination. An initial battery of written tests, interviews, and medical history reviews further reduced the number of candidates to 36. After learning of the extreme physical and mental tests planned for them, 4 of these men dropped out. Then, the final 32 candidates traveled to Lovelace Clinic in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where they underwent exhaustive medical and physical examinations. The men proved so healthy, however, that only 1 candidate was eliminated. The remaining 31 candidates then traveled to the Wright Aeromedical Laboratory in Dayton, Ohio, where they underwent the most grueling part of the selection process. For 6 days and 3 nights, the men were subjected to various tortures that tested their tolerance for physical and psychological stress. Among other tests, the candidates were forced to spend an hour in a pressure chamber that simulated an altitude of 65,000 feet and 2 hours in a chamber that was heated to 130 degrees Fahrenheit. At the end of 1 week, 18 candidates remained. From among these men, the selection committee was to choose 6 based on interviews, but 7 candidates were so strong they ended up settling on that number. And this was the history of today.